my guest, is the proudly returning to Shakespeare Dallas, where credits include Comedies of Fears and so many more. Please welcome my guest, Bryan Pitts, to the show. What's going on, Mr. Pitts?
Hello, hello.
I've been anticipating this for a while now. I'm so
Yes, yes. I know
excited.
it's been a long time coming since we ran into each other at registration.
I know, 2 a.m., right?
Oh Lord, my goodness. Was it oh yeah, it probably was
It
because
was
we lost all
maybe
that
1
time.
a.m., 2 a.m. Texas
Yes.
time.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was, I mean, that's the one of those situations to where we're trying to expand and invest in ourselves and flights are delayed and you just make it work.
Absolutely.
So for everyone who's listening, Brian and I actually met at a conference and we were actually coming in, the planes were late. And so we were standing, checking in at the counter at the hotel, him, myself, and another young lady. And we just, started talking about how we were just so exhausted. And that's how it started. So I thank you so much for saying yes. And I look forward to this conversation. And so what's been going on with you?
Yeah, as you're saying, I just did a project with Shakespeare Dallas. We did reading. It's called The War of the Roses. We did Henry the VI, part one, two, and three, and then we led that right up to Richard III. So it captures some of Shakespeare's historical plays. These are usually not done as full production, so they're done as readings a lot of the time. So we have people that are really into the text and and then stories and not so much into costumes or lights or props or sounds, since there is fighting, there's wars and stuff like that, but it really concentrates on the characters, their reactions to things and the history as Shakespeare wrote it.
Wow. So let me just take it back. We're gonna take you all the way back because I noticed that your beginning wasn't really the beginning that you anticipated. So tell me, like, how did you end up here? Like, who is Mr. Pitts? I always call you B Pitts. So Brian Pitts. Before you decided, you know what, this is the career path I wanted to take. Like, what was the? How did that start?
Yeah, I was in college and I was in my wanderings of business and wanted to be a businessman, wanted to do business stuff, wanted to have business. I keep saying business, business, business. So I was taking all these courses, and I was going to community college, getting my basics out of the way. This is much cheaper and it was close to home, and I won a competition with the school newspaper, and they said, "Well, go get your prize, but it's in the theater department for some reason." How it happened to be, and they were like, "Hey, yo, you have acting class," and I was like, "Oh, what do you have to do with that?" And they were like, "Oh, we just do acting exercises and we talk about technique and all of them." I didn't know what they were talking. I had no clue, but I found out there were no tests and there were no books, no reading assignments. So I was like, I'm in. So just started, and it was more of a kind of a networking thing because it ended up being as many industries are. It's very much who you enjoy working with, who you know can do the work, who you know is either low maintenance or is going to bring in a lot of audience or money. And started networking. Shakespeare Dallas is actually where I got started at the first show. They had uh, a role that they did not cast, and the one of my colleagues I met at Northlake College during the show, she suggested me, and I'm still friends with her to this day. I actually called her to go see one of her shows. She's at Green Hill School teaching, so I'm going to go visit her there. And just started networking. Found one of my best friends this day. He helped me get my agent. Another friend of mine helped me get my first professional acting role at a local theater. So yeah, it just took off, and I was like, "Y'all are going to pay me to do this?" And learned on the job. Learned on the job. Learned on the job. Very fortunate. Uh, there weren't many people who looked like me doing it, so you know.
Mhm. So it was one of those things that was kind of like it was your thing. Like, so you were a business major and you went into something just off of a whim, and then the door just opened wide open for you.
Yeah, it was really the other side of me that I didn't really know. Um, Stereotypically, actors are very reserved. They're very uh, unique. They're very, I don't want to say outcast, but there's this stigma of, well, yeah, you're an artsy person or you're an artist or you're a creative. And sometimes those folks don't get into the quote unquote mainstream for whatever reason. And they're cast with the, all of those stereotypes. And a lot of them kind of gather and congregate in those creative spaces with one another because they have that in common. And for me, that was a place I had no judgment. I mean, I played sports in high school, so it was always the jock stuff and this and that. And I never really had people that just like me for me. And never thought I would be memorizing any sort of lines or acting or blocking or technique or any of that. So yeah, it was just something that ended up working out and still doing it.
I love it. I love it. So I hear that because most of the time, when we pray about something and God says, as long as you're in the direction of the area that you're supposed to be in, then you meet your purpose. And it sounds like that's what happened for you.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. When you, like you said, if you're moving in a good space and you're honest about how you feel about things and how you have your antenna up and you're actually receiving those images that are coming to you and those pathways open up. A lot of times there's a as business people, as entrepreneurs, we talk about where are the opportunities, where are those chances for me to maximize and give and receive and all those things, right? And if you don't have your antenna up and you're not receiving, if you're not on the right frequency to get the things that you need to get and the message you need to get, you're going to miss those opportunities. And fortunately, I had my opportunity antenna up, and we're still going.
Wow. So did you change your major or did you make it your minor or did you drop out? I mean, how did that, what was that like?
I just stopped. I started doing shows. I was driving to North Texas up in Denton, and I was still doing shows. And they were like, "Oh," and I was like, I don't enjoy this business stuff. I just didn't want to do it full time, and I had an opportunity to do it. So I just, the good thing about being in this area is there are a lot of people that have full time day jobs. So a lot of the rehearsals are structured with that in mind. So a lot of evening rehearsals, a lot of weekends, and I've had very good jobs where they understood and they supported that. So as long as I gave them notice and gave them a schedule, I could still get around a lot of things. Fortunately, being in an IT, there's a lot of technology we can use and still get things done.
So tell me and walk me through because I know when you hear actor, oh, they're making all this money. So because you went right into Shakespeare, right? So and it seems like that's your thing. But did you actually was the anticipation as far as the financial piece? Was it what you thought it would be in the beginning?
No, I really didn't know how any of the money worked. So first, theater is all me. I do my theater hustle. That's my thing. That's how I go out and find work, networking, auditioning, meeting people, however that goes, that's my work. I have an agent which helps with broadcast, commercials, TV, film, voiceover, things like that. So that's kind of where things are divided. Oh, and also print jobs. They handle that as well. So it's kind of that divide there. So the theater side, it is not for the it is not for getting rich. For most, as most acting is not. It's really, you know, just what do you want to get out of it? Some people want to be famous. Some people want to just do certain kind of work. Some people want to be the next insert your favorite actor here. Some people just want to do it because they've always wanted to do it since they were little. So when I found out how much I can make on the agent side, um, and I didn't even realize they worked for me when I signed. And I said, "Oh, wait, you work for me? That's how that works?" And they were like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh, so I can um gently direct you in the path that I would like to go." Because when I first started, they were sending me out for a specific kind of role. And I said, "That's not me. I don't do that. That's not, I mean, I can, but that's not where I'm going to shine." So
What was the role?
it was more, you know, they didn't know. So they were like, there was a show here, it was called Prison Break. So I was going up for a lot of the guys in the prison. And I was like, yeah, I need to be a lawyer or something. And I never got on that show. Um, but that was a good experience for them to kind of learn how that experience was. And I think the casting directors kind of figured it out because I would go in and they'd be like, yeah, this isn't working. It was just kind of, it was a learning for both of us, really, because I didn't know. I was just going where they sent me. So it was definitely a different passion.
So like they wanted to stereotype you basically. Typecasting you based off of how you look, the build. Okay, we have this African American male. This is a typical role, and you're like, nah, this isn't it. So, but does that happen often? In
Well, I, I mean, the thing is, that's what they do. And it's not that they're doing it, most of the time, or I don't know. You can't speak to somebody's heart, but you can definitely find out, how's this going? And if it's not successful, you got to figure out a different path. And it just wasn't successful, but you had to go down that path to figure that out. And I think after some conversations and some experiences, and they took feedback, I took feedback, and then we were like, okay, let's try this other thing. We tried a couple of things until we figured out how to promote, you know, your talent properly, because that's what everybody does. Because I didn't grow this, I had this for years, so that was a different conversation, and that was a whole nother thing. It was like, well, it might put you in this kind of, dad or principal, or policeman, or whatever lane, because that's what you do when you're an actor. A lot of times you're getting put into a box, so whenever that opportunity opens and you can fill that box, then they're going to say, oh, I know who to draw from that fits that character.
So, what has been some of your favorite, past productions that you've actually been in? Share them
I
with
had
us.
the most fun at school, and partially because I didn't know enough, so I really could just commit to it, and I didn't let my maturity or my smarts or my experience get in the way. It was like, oh, I'm a DJ for this. Okay, so let me just play like a DJ, or I could just dive into it. So I would say one of my favorite things I did Greece when I was in college. That was so much fun because I got to play the DJ for that for Greece. That was so much fun. I got to play Martin Luther King um, for a production of The Mountaintop that was down here in Fort Worth, and that one was very emotional. I probably cried every night, and it was very, and get to play somebody of that magnitude, of that stature, um, regardless of if you agree or disagree with a lot of things, to play that part and to tell that part of a story was incredible. I got to help open. We have our AT&T Performing Arts Center up here in Dallas. The Dallas Theater Center gave me an opportunity to be in that first show, and I got to say the first words, the first play of the first show at that space. So I mean, that was super nice, and it was a lot of just awesome opportunities, and just to meet and work with so many people. I've got to work with Andre Benjamin and Vivica Fox and Regina King, and just so many, and they're so nice. It was just such a great experience working with those people, and just to just have an opportunity to share that space and work with them.
So, has there ever been someone that when you met them, you're like, nah, I don't think it's gonna work out.
I really haven't. You know, the only time I really have that is more along when I'm doing a theatrical production, because we spend so much time together and you get to know a lot. They come in, everybody has bad days. I have bad days, and sometimes people gonna get the side of that bad day, and you're like, hey, you need to figure that out.
Yeah.
Because there have been times I've been really, really not well. I mean, even I did a show, and during that show, my father passed. So it was like, okay, are you going to keep doing the show, or are you going to drop out, or is this going to be your therapy, or so you really have to figure out, why are you doing this? Are you
Yeah.
committed to it? Because there's a lot of people that want to do it. They might not want to do it the right way or in a way that's beneficial. Because I'm a person that believes you're telling the story, and you're a part of a team and a group and all that kind of sports side. But it's like you have to all be pulling the same direction. If you have somebody on their own agenda, it can
Yeah.
change. It can change the experience.
I asked that question because I hear about, when you meet an actor or an actress, they're one way, and when you meet them, it's somebody totally different. So I just thought maybe you're like, yeah, you had a story to tell. I thought this person was like going to be really very, inviting and warm. You're like, no, they were just very cold. But yeah, I'm not going to put you on the spot like that. I know you're a nice guy. You wouldn't tell me anyway.
I think I will say this. I've definitely uh have experienced the other side of what you see on TV, because there is a lot of, you see somebody for a movie, you don't really know what they're like in person. You might see them in the interview, but you still don't know what they're like in person. And
Mhm.
having downtime with some of the actors that I've worked with, even people that you or other people on the audience may not even have heard of, but have seen, and I've gotten an opportunity to get to talk to them on that level. So it's just been an awesome experience to get to know somebody for them,
Hmm.
and not necessarily what you may have thought.
Yeah.
But nothing that was like, oh my gosh, that was woo, woo, nothing like that.
Well, that's a good segue to my next question because everything is not always what it seems. Even with social media and everybody wants to, do all of these type of things online, and so being that you've been in this line of work for a really long time, I know that you have other adventures that you're doing now. We'll talk about them later, but what I mean, as far as someone that is wanting to get into this business, because you said, you know what, you either you want to do this or you don't, because your life is not your life. You still got to show up. So, what advice or what's something that you've learned along the way to say, hey, if this is something that you really want to do, you need to do what first?
Go see a show.
Mm.
Go to the movies. Find out as much you can about people that are doing the thing you want to do. It's similar to what you were telling anybody. It's just that this isn't a linear path. If you speak to a kid and he says he wants to be a doctor, or she says she wants to be, uh, you know, where there are steps and you go to school, then you do this, then you do this, and there isn't a well, you're an actor. Like I go tell people, or when I'm in front of a group, especially of kids, and they say, "Well, I want to be an actor." I'm like, "Well, are you? Who tells you that you're an actor? Who told you that you have to be an actor, or how do you be an actor? Like you already have to consider yourself an actor, and then just continue to grow because nobody's going to tell you when you're not an actor. So the more you think, as you believe in your heart, so shall it be, right? So you got to start acting like that and find somebody that's doing what you're doing in a way that you want to do it, or maybe a way that you don't know if you want to do yet. Learn what their process is, how they do it. I honestly believe more people want to give than people that want to ask. And whatever it is, intimidation, maybe the fear of the known or the unknown, but
Mhm.
more times than not, you can ask. You can literally go to a show, talk to the actors after the show, meet the actors after the show, find out when the opening night is, talk to them, after the show or whatever, and just start a conversation because there's a lot of opportunities out there. The biggest ability is availability. If you're out there and you're willing to do the work, the opportunities will come.
That's really good advice. I like that. I want the listeners and those that are watching to really understand who we are talking to right now. Who is in front of this camera talking to me? He's been in Detroit '67, Civil War. It was a Civil War, Christmas,
Yeah.
Mountaintop, the Mountaintop. And there was one that I wanted to mention too. I know that you're doing the Shakespeare Dallas, but you got my attention. It was something that you did that was historic. You were sitting there reading this piece about history, and the way you delivered this particular piece, and maybe you can bring it up, was extraordinary. I mean, the way that you did it was like artistic. And that's when I was like, I really enjoyed not only the way you delivered, the monotone, the way you shifted everything. It was really good. And I'm not an actor, but it showed me that you really enjoy your craft. You really take what you're doing very seriously. Even I think it was like, what was it, the History Channel? I don't know where I actually
Oh,
saw it.
was it the eyewitness Bible thing? Michael, the archangel,
Was that it? I'm gonna have to
Michael.
look at the title of it. But I even let my husband see it. He was like, "Yeah, that was really good." He's like, "Yeah, this guy he has something." And I'm like, I really just really that's when I realized I really wanted you to be on the show. Not just because we've met each other, but you as a human being, really nice gentleman. You're very giving. You're like, whatever you need, you're that guy. But when you actually embed yourself into someone's space, what they do for a living and all those type of things, you really kind of see a different side of them. But to know that you are the professional that you are, I commend you for that, because it was like I was drawn. I was like, now I know you're going to be doing something in February. I'm in. I'm coming to the show.
Thank you, thank you.
and,
I
and
mean, it's being in the zone.
yeah,
We all have it. It's just a matter of what is your zone.
Yeah. I don't geek out from, and that's one thing my husband's like, no, I don't have a favorite person. I don't do that. Cause I look at people like literally, and I think that's why I'm doing podcasting because when I actually went to school for radio television, when I went for my undergrad before, I really wanted to actually be a talk show host because I see people just as who they are. You're just an actor. That's something that you do, but I want to know where your heart is. And if I can feel that, you're a believer, you're a God fearing person, and you're all about that. Then okay, let's get to know that person first, and so that's where I am. So this is a good story for me. I really enjoy this.
You know, you mentioned something that's very important that you remind me of something. You have to decide that you want to do this because there will be opportunities you have if you want to be an actor, I should say. You have to decide you want to do this because there'll be opportunities you'll take and they might not be what you thought they were, or there are opportunities that you pass on and they ended up not being what you thought they were. And you
Mm,
have to remember, sometimes the blessing is in what you don't get. Sometimes what you do get is not. What does it say? Everything that feels good for you isn't good for you, and everything that feels bad isn't bad for you. And there are times you might do a show for a bucket of fried chicken or $25 gas stipend, but you have to figure out what is it that's going to keep you going. People talk about what's your why, and the why is usually what keeps you going when you are performing for three people or in a show that you just everybody's just beaten down and tired and real
yeah.
ugly to one another, and you have to really figure out what's that thing that's going to keep you going because it's probably not going to be the
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. Knowing why you're doing what you're doing, and like you said, you have to go expose yourself, get the exposure to the thing, be in the environment. Because I know when I actually had my first speaking engagement at a school years ago, and I'm standing there. At first, I was a little nervous. You're nervous, right? You're like, oh my god. But afterwards, I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to speak. I want to be this person because it was just something in me that just came alive, and you just know when you're in the environment, you're around the people. And yeah, I do agree with you on that. Just get in the environment and just have that experience, and you'll realize it. And sometimes you just have to say yes to something that you never thought that you wanted to do and just try it.
money. Yeah, for sure.
So what has been the most challenging experience for you in this arena?
Most challenging. I feel like I mean everything. There are so many things. I feel like I see challenge in everything. I definitely say the Martin Luther King was a big challenge because you want to be accurate and you. The good thing is this play had the blessing of the King family, because there was some things in there that someone might object to, or everybody has an opinion, which I'm like totally good with. Um, excuse me, definitely any Shakespeare to me is a challenge in a good way because it makes you think. Because everybody, that's another thing. It's that there's so many interpretations, there are so many translations, and people hear it different. It's intimidating to some people. Some people just love it. Some people don't get it, but they still read it, watch it, and then we have so many contemporary remakes of Taming of the Shrew and Othello and Midsummer, and like there are things you're like, wait a minute, I just saw this story, but it was like a teenager in high school, and he was like, well, that was actually Taming of the Shrew. So it's the same story, just in a different context. Um, yeah, I would definitely say I did an August Wilson play called The Piano Lesson. That was a huge challenge. I mean, August Wilson, absolute one of the forefathers of theater, and to be able to tell one of a story that he had penned was a tremendous challenge, and I definitely enjoyed it.
So has acting changed you as a person? Do you
Yeah,
feel? And what
definitely. It's never it's gotten me out because I was not a social person growing up. I tell people I had a level of undiagnosed social anxiety in terms of either just being around people. And I still suffer from that from time to time. I went to an event that my friends invited me to, and I'm like, I'm just not, this isn't my thing. They were, all around and talking, and I'm in the back on the wall. I might talk to one person, but I'm just like, I just, but it's really helped me, and it's helped me be a better person to give to others. I'm literally going to schools and talking to kids about mental health and financial education and a lot of things that I struggle with, and no one taught me in depth or even conversation we had, even if you didn't know, at least you can talk about it and then like talk through your feelings so it doesn't just stay in your head and then you got to figure it out. You got to start learning from YouTube. So um it's helped me be just a better person, I think, in general, but especially in terms of being able to share my experiences with other people and listen better, because that's really a big thing as far as acting for me is being able to listen. Because whenever I'm on stage or on camera, my job is to make you look like you're talking about the most interesting thing in the world. And if I do that and you do that for me, we're good. But I can't always make myself feel like I'm talking about the most interesting thing.
Mhm.
Well, nobody cares about that. Because if I think I am, but nobody else does,
Mhm.
you're a boring person. But if the other person feels like, oh man, I'm hanging on to every word you said, so will the audience.
I like what you said that um because there's someone that's listening, and the thing that you said was, I'm not this, this jovial person that you just out there in all this networking, and you like you feel awkward in a particular space. But based off of what you do, you had to come out of your shell, and you have to be able to learn this particular skill of communicating and listening and all those things, because you would think that it just comes naturally to someone that does this type of work, right? But
Yeah,
I think that's a good thing too for parents that's listening, is to identify certain things in your kid when you're trying to encourage them to step out in theater, because it can bring something out of them that you never thought was in them in the beginning. Which is,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. That's what growth is about. And usually that's what's happening when you are growing up, right? You're
Hmm.
trying to figure out, oh, I like that. I didn't like that experience. I enjoyed doing that. I had fun doing that. And then you're like, oh, but you can make money doing this, if you just tweak it a little bit, and it's
Right.
like, oh, I played a lawyer in a college production, and now I want to be a lawyer. I got to study how it is to be a lawyer. So that's how you can. I agree. Definitely got to try those things.
Yeah. So, as someone that is, I know right now you're getting ready to do another. You call them gigs, a production. What are you working on now, other than what we talked about? I know the theater, the play that you're doing in Dallas. What are you working on now?
About to start rehearsal for a play called Box by Jared King. Um, his name is Jared King, and it's about Henry Fox Brown, who's a slave who mailed himself to freedom, mailed himself overseas, and he ended up becoming a magician overseas, and started doing all of this, shows all over Europe, and it's his story, and still getting into the text, learning more about what this story is about in regards to his life. So I started to do some historical work, talk to some historians about what was happening at this time, because I really want to see if I can put myself in this mindset. Because a lot of times when you do shows, you have to be in the person that knows what they knew at that time. You can't do it as 2024 brain, because then it won't make sense. Because it's like, well, you just can't. You have to know. You have to know what you don't know, right? And don't know what you don't know. If that makes sense. Because
Yeah.
it's like you can't be that way. So I'm gonna start rehearsal for that in January at Undermain Theater in Dallas, Texas. So looking forward to that, because that's going to be a tremendous opportunity to get to work with some great folks and tell a magical story.
Cool. I mean, I know I'm getting a VIP ticket. When I say VIP ticket, that means I need to be in the mail. I don't have to buy the ticket.
No, you just show up. You just show up.
I just show up. I can show
Just
up on
tell them.
my phone. Can I get an
You,
interview at
you
something? We can do
come
it.
on, bring it.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay, then he's telling me
there's
I can do
there's
it.
room. Yes.
Let's go. So when you're not acting and learning lines and all of the things, what do you do? Like, what are you doing?
So people ask, it's like I have to pay a job that's steady pay insurance. So I work for a plastics manufacturer, and I help administer the SharePoint instance, administer the Jira instance, and I help support our staff that make sure the machines that build or that uh, manufacture the products we sell is smooth. Make sure that they can communicate with the internet and all that good stuff. So I help support those folks.
Oh,
So they're the technicians, and I'm kind of backup to kind of just reallocate things. So that's what I do during the day.
okay. So is there a Mrs. Pitts?
No, not
No,
yet. It's just me. Just me. Uh,
you.
working on that. That will come. Uh, about
Don't be
about
all in
to
your
you know.
business. Like,
I'm
look.
I'm I'm one of those. Yes, I'm one of those people that's like I want to have some things. So I'm in the process of getting a house. It's taking a long time, as you can tell. It's taking a long time, but that will be a major step. And yeah, it's a confidence thing. You want to have certain things
Yeah.
in place. So um,
But there is someone.
yeah, yeah, there is someone. Yes, we are dating one woman at this
Good.
time.
Okay.
We have
Good.
we have
Because I
we
was
have.
just like, I wondered, like, okay, Sherry Shepherd, is she too fast for you?
My goodness.
But anyway, this is just
No,
talk.
I'm good.
Good, good, good. Well, Uncle, congratulations on the house. I totally understand you wanting to actually have all your ducks in a row as a man to take care of your household and your future, or to be fiance and wife and all those good things. I think your mindset is exactly where it needs to be. Because all you're gonna do is bring in more stress and pressure when you're not ready based off of where you want to be. So I agree with that.
Yeah.
So this has been great. So where can the listeners find you if they want to connect? I know that you have a few things going on. If they want to get tapped in, they hear you, hear this, and they're in Dallas. If you have the address, or is there a page or something like that we can actually support? Where can the
Yeah,
list?
if you want to, the show that's coming up in 2025, it's called Box by Jared King. It'll be at Undermain Theater in Dallas, Texas. So you should look up Undermain, UNDERMAIN Theater with a RE. That'll be my next show. I am on the socials. Instagram is kind of my social slice of choice. 98 Rev altogether. 98REV is in Victor. And yeah, that's how you can reach me. I'm That's kind of my main thing.
This
I'm
is
around.
So this has been great. So I hope you guys have listened to what he's saying, regardless of where you are in your acting journey, and you're wanting to get started. You have to really love what you do. Get immersed into what you wanted to do. Get proximity is key to everything when you're learning a craft. Ask questions, but find a mentor. I think he also stated that not all things are good for you. So just remember that just because you wanted to get into something or someone presents something to you and you're wanting to do it, make sure that you take time to think about it. I'm saying, hey, pray about it. Don't just jump out there, feet first, head first, as they say. But it is an opportunity for you to learn. Sometimes just because you see actors out there don't mean that you're gonna be famous. He says hard work, depending on which direction you want to go into. So I hope you've learned a lot from this podcast today. Did you have any other words for me, Mr. Pitts, before we go?
I want to encourage everybody a couple of things. Just as she was saying, find out your passion, find out what it is. Also, don't be afraid to record yourself. You want to start a YouTube channel? You want to start a podcast like the great one that you are listening to today? Do it. The biggest thing we have in this world is the ability to do. So many people want to do, they wish they could. We can. We have technology. We got some of us have opportunities. Take advantage of them. You'll always regret not doing a thing, but you often won't regret doing it and messing up. You'll be like, ah, that sucked. But that's cool too. Because I've done things and they might not have been the best, but you know what? I did them. So I encourage everybody, go out there, take a chance, do it.
Do it. This has been another great episode of the Sly Ed Experience podcast, where successes lead you through education and determination. I am your host, Latasha, and as usual, have a great day.